Hello, gentlemen. I'm Dr. Carter. Let me ask you something. Have you ever woken up in the morning feeling completely fine, only to notice that your blood pressure reading was unexpectedly high? Maybe you thought it was because you didn't sleep well. Maybe you blamed stress, a heavy dinner, or the extra cup of coffee you had yesterday. But what if I told you that your blood pressure is actually designed to rise in the morning? And what if that natural rise could become dangerous for millions of men? Here's something that may surprise you. Medical researchers have known for decades that heart attacks, strokes, and sudden cardiac events happen more frequently during the early morning hours than at any other time of day. Think about that for a moment. Not late at night. Not during a stressful afternoon meeting. Not after an intense workout. For many people, the most vulnerable time for the heart is within the first few hours after waking up. Every morning, millions of men get out of bed, make coffee, check their phones, and begin their day without realizing that their cardiovascular system is going through one of its most demanding periods. Inside the body, something remarkable is happening. The heart begins beating faster. Blood vessels become narrower. Certain hormones start flooding the bloodstream. Blood pressure rises. And in some men, this rise becomes much more dramatic than it should. This phenomenon is known as the morning blood pressure surge. For healthy individuals, it is simply part of the body's normal daily rhythm. But for men who already have high blood pressure, diabetes, excess weight, sleep problems, or underlying heart disease, this morning surge can place tremendous strain on the cardiovascular system. Imagine turning on a garden hose. If the hose is new and flexible, water flows smoothly. But what happens if the hose is old, stiff, and partially blocked? The pressure inside increases. The walls experience more stress. And eventually, weak points may begin to fail. The same thing can happen inside your arteries. As men get older, blood vessels naturally lose some of their flexibility. Years of high blood pressure, poor sleep, chronic stress, smoking, unhealthy eating habits, and lack of exercise can make arteries even stiffer. Then comes the morning. Your blood pressure suddenly begins to climb. Your heart has to work harder. Blood moves more forcefully through arteries that may already be narrowed or damaged. For some men, this combination creates the perfect conditions for a serious cardiovascular event. The most concerning part is that most people never feel it happening. There may be no pain, no warning sign, no dramatic symptoms. You may feel perfectly normal while your cardiovascular system is under enormous stress. That's why high blood pressure has earned the nickname the silent killer. Many men assume that if they feel fine, they must be healthy. Unfortunately, the body doesn't always send clear signals. In fact, some of the strongest men I've ever met were completely shocked when they learned they had dangerously high blood pressure. They exercised, they worked hard, they took care of their families, they felt healthy. Yet hidden inside their bodies, elevated blood pressure had been silently damaging their arteries for years. And every morning, that damage was being placed under even more pressure. Today I want to help you understand exactly why this happens. Because once you understand what your body is doing every morning, you'll begin to see your blood pressure in a completely different way. This isn't simply about numbers on a blood pressure monitor. This is about understanding one of the most important warning signals your body can give you, and it could be information that protects your heart for years to come. Now let's talk about what is happening inside your body during those first moments after waking up. Your body is incredibly intelligent. Even while you're sleeping, millions of biological processes are constantly working behind the scenes. You are not truly shut down during sleep. Your body is simply operating in a different mode. Throughout the night, your heart rate slows down. Your breathing becomes more relaxed. Blood vessels widen slightly. Blood pressure naturally falls. This nighttime drop in blood pressure is actually very important because it gives your heart and blood vessels a chance to rest and recover. You can think of it as putting your cardiovascular system into energy-saving mode. But then something fascinating happens. Long before your alarm clock goes off, your brain starts preparing your body to wake up. Your internal biological clock, known as the circadian rhythm, begins sending signals throughout the body. Certain hormones start increasing. One of them is cortisol. Another is adrenaline. These hormones often get a bad reputation because they are associated with stress. But in reality, they play essential roles in helping us function. Every morning, these hormones act like an internal wake-up call. They tell your body, it's time to become alert. It's time to move. It's time to prepare for physical activity. In response, your heart begins pumping harder. Your blood vessels become slightly narrower, blood sugar levels increase to provide energy, your nervous system becomes more active, and your blood pressure begins to rise. This process is completely normal. In fact, if your blood pressure didn't increase at all in the morning, getting out of bed would be difficult. You might feel weak, dizzy, and exhausted. The morning blood pressure rise is not the enemy. The problem occurs when the rise becomes excessive, and unfortunately, many men are at risk for exactly that. As we age, our blood vessels become less elastic. Excess body weight places additional strain on the heart. Chronic stress keeps stress hormones elevated. Poor sleep disrupts normal biological rhythms. Diabetes damages blood vessels. Sleep apnea causes repeated drops in oxygen throughout the night, placing tremendous stress on the cardiovascular system. These factors can dramatically amplify the morning surge. Instead of experiencing a moderate increase in blood pressure, some men experience a sudden spike. Imagine driving a car and gently pressing the accelerator. That's what should happen. Now imagine slamming your foot on the gas pedal. That's what an exaggerated morning blood pressure surge can feel like for the cardiovascular system. The heart suddenly demands more oxygen. Blood vessels experience greater pressure. The blood itself becomes slightly more likely to clot during the morning hours. And if plaque has already formed inside an artery, the increased pressure may sometimes contribute to plaque rupture. This is one reason cardiovascular events are more common during the early morning hours. Again, this does not mean every person with high morning blood pressure will suffer a heart attack or stroke, but it does mean that the morning period deserves attention. The body is undergoing a major physiological transition. Your cardiovascular system is shifting from a resting state into an active state. And for some men, this transition becomes one of the most stressful periods of the entire day. The remarkable thing is that your body is often giving you valuable information during this time. A high morning blood pressure reading may not simply be a random number. It may be your body's way of saying, your arteries are under strain, your sleep may not be optimal, your stress levels may be too high, your cardiovascular system may need attention, and the earlier you recognize these signals, the more opportunities you have to protect your heart and your future health. Welcome back, gentlemen. Now that you understand why blood pressure naturally rises in the morning, let's talk about why this issue deserves special attention for men. The reality is that men tend to develop cardiovascular disease earlier than women. By middle age, many men are already carrying multiple risk factors that can make morning blood pressure surges more dangerous. The first factor is abdominal fat. As men get older, many begin storing more fat around the waistline. This isn't simply a cosmetic issue. Visceral fat, the fat stored deep inside the abdomen, is metabolically active. It produces inflammatory chemicals that can damage blood vessels and interfere with normal blood pressure regulation. This means that carrying extra weight around your midsection may be placing additional stress on your arteries every single day. The second factor is chronic stress. Many men spend decades carrying enormous responsibilities. They work long hours, support their families, worry about finances, and constantly deal with pressure that never seems to stop. The human body was never designed to stay in a state of stress 24 hours a day. When stress becomes chronic, levels of cortisol and adrenaline can remain elevated. Over time, blood vessels become less flexible, blood pressure increases, and the heart works harder than it should. Then there is sleep. As men age, sleep quality often begins to decline. Many men wake up frequently during the night. Others sleep fewer hours than they need. Some have undiagnosed sleep apnea and don't even realize it. Sleep apnea is especially concerning because it repeatedly reduces oxygen levels during sleep. Each time breathing is interrupted, the body experiences a stress response. Blood pressure rises, stress hormones increase. The cardiovascular system is repeatedly forced into emergency mode. Imagine someone tapping the accelerator pedal of your car hundreds of times every night. Eventually, something begins to wear down. That's exactly what can happen inside the cardiovascular system. Another important factor is arterial stiffness. When we are young, our arteries are remarkably flexible. They expand and relax with each heartbeat. But over time, the walls of the arteries gradually become stiffer. Years of high blood pressure, inflammation, smoking, poor diet, and lack of exercise accelerate this process. Think of the difference between a new rubber hose and an old rigid pipe. The flexible hose absorbs pressure changes. The rigid pipe does not. Now imagine the morning surge arriving. Blood pressure rises. The heart pumps harder. Blood is pushed through arteries that may already be stiff and narrowed. This combination can create enormous stress inside the cardiovascular system. What makes this situation particularly dangerous is that many men never realize it is happening. You can feel perfectly normal. You can go to work, you can exercise, you can mow the lawn or play golf. Meanwhile, hidden inside your body, your arteries may be experiencing repeated episodes of excessive pressure every morning. And over the course of years, that repeated stress can contribute to heart disease, stroke, kidney damage, and cognitive decline. The morning hours are not necessarily dangerous for everyone, but for many men, they represent a period when underlying cardiovascular problems become much more apparent. And understanding this gives you something incredibly powerful: awareness. Because once you know where the risk exists, you can begin taking steps to reduce it. One of the biggest challenges with high blood pressure is that it often causes no symptoms at all. That's why it has been called the silent killer. Many men assume that if they don't feel sick, everything must be fine. Unfortunately, blood pressure doesn't always work that way. In fact, some people have dangerously high blood pressure and feel perfectly normal. However, there are certain signs that deserve attention. One of the most common symptoms is waking up with a headache. Some men describe it as pressure in the back of the head. Others feel a throbbing sensation behind the eyes. Another symptom is dizziness. You get out of bed and feel lightheaded. You need a few moments to steady yourself. You may also notice blurred vision. Some people experience temporary difficulty focusing. Others report seeing spots or feeling as though their vision isn't completely clear. Another sign is heart palpitations. Your heart suddenly feels like it's pounding or beating faster than normal. Some men wake up feeling anxious or restless for no obvious reason. Others experience facial flushing or a sense of warmth. You may even feel unusually tired, despite spending 7 or 8 hours in bed. But here's the problem. Many dangerous blood pressure spikes produce absolutely no warning signs. None. You may feel completely fine while your blood pressure is placing tremendous stress on your arteries. This is why home monitoring can be so valuable. A blood pressure monitor often reveals information that symptoms cannot. For example, many men discover that their morning blood pressure readings are consistently higher than readings taken later in the day. This pattern is important because repeated morning spikes may gradually damage sensitive organs: your brain, your kidneys, your eyes, your heart. Think of it this way. Imagine tapping a glass with a spoon. One tap causes no damage. 100 taps may still do nothing, but thousands and thousands of taps eventually weaken the structure. Blood vessels respond in a similar way. Repeated episodes of elevated pressure can slowly contribute to injury over time. The body is incredibly resilient, but it is not indestructible. If you consistently wake up with headaches, dizziness, palpitations, or if your blood pressure is repeatedly elevated in the morning, don't ignore those signals. Your body may be trying to tell you something important. And listening early is always better than responding after a serious event has already occurred. Now let's talk about something that surprises many of my patients. Sometimes we unintentionally make our own morning blood pressure worse. The first habit is poor sleep. Consistently sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night keeps the body in a state of stress. Stress hormones remain elevated. Blood pressure regulation becomes impaired. The cardiovascular system never fully recovers. The second habit is eating large, salty meals late at night. Excess sodium causes the body to retain more fluid. This increases blood volume and can contribute to higher blood pressure the following morning. The third habit is excessive alcohol consumption. Many people believe alcohol helps them sleep. In reality, alcohol often disrupts sleep quality and interferes with normal blood pressure control. Another major issue is physical inactivity. The cardiovascular system responds remarkably well to regular exercise. Exercise helps blood vessels remain flexible. It improves circulation. It supports healthy blood pressure regulation. When activity levels decrease, blood vessels tend to become stiffer over time. Smoking is another major contributor. Nicotine stimulates the nervous system, narrows blood vessels, and increases blood pressure. Even occasional smoking can negatively affect cardiovascular health. Then there is chronic stress. Many men wake up and immediately reach for their phones. Emails, news headlines, financial updates, work messages. Within minutes of waking up, the brain is flooded with information that triggers stress responses. Heart rate increases, stress hormones rise, blood pressure may climb even further. Another habit that deserves attention is jumping out of bed too quickly. Remember, your body is transitioning from sleep mode to active mode. Suddenly standing up and immediately rushing into activity can place additional demands on the cardiovascular system. One habit that often surprises people is drinking coffee before drinking water. After several hours of sleep, the body is mildly dehydrated. Blood becomes slightly more concentrated. Then caffeine stimulates the nervous system. For some individuals, this combination may temporarily increase blood pressure. None of these habits alone guarantees cardiovascular problems, but together day after day and year after year, they can significantly increase strain on the heart and blood vessels. The good news is that habits can change, and even small changes can make a meaningful difference. Now for the most important question, what can you do? The encouraging news is that there are practical steps that can help support healthier blood pressure and reduce unnecessary cardiovascular stress. The first step is simple. Don't rush. When you wake up, resist the urge to jump out of bed immediately. Give yourself a minute. Sit on the edge of the bed, take several slow, deep breaths. Allow your body to transition naturally from sleep to wakefulness. The second step is hydration. Drink a glass of water. Your body has gone several hours without fluids. Proper hydration supports circulation and helps the cardiovascular system function more efficiently. The third step is avoiding unnecessary stress during the first moments of your day. You do not need to check every message immediately. You do not need to expose yourself to stressful news the moment your eyes open. Give your mind a chance to wake up calmly. Another important strategy is monitoring your blood pressure at home. Knowledge is powerful. Take readings consistently. Record the numbers. Pay attention to patterns. Morning readings often provide valuable information about cardiovascular health. Protecting your sleep is equally important. Aim for consistent sleep schedules. Create a comfortable sleeping environment. Address snoring or possible sleep apnea if symptoms are present. Quality sleep may be one of the most underrated tools for supporting healthy blood pressure. Regular exercise also deserves a place in every man's routine. You do not need extreme workouts. Even daily walking can improve circulation, help maintain healthy blood vessels, and support blood pressure regulation. Maintaining a healthy body weight can also make a tremendous difference. Even modest weight loss can reduce strain on the heart and improve overall cardiovascular function. Reducing sodium intake and limiting alcohol can further support healthy blood pressure patterns. And if you are taking blood pressure medication, never stop or adjust it without discussing it with your healthcare provider. Finally, I want you to remember something. Your morning blood pressure is not simply a number on a screen. It is information. It is feedback. It is your body communicating with you. For many men, elevated morning blood pressure is one of the earliest signs that the cardiovascular system needs attention. The sooner you listen, the more opportunities you have to make meaningful changes. Your heart works for you every second of every day. It beats while you sleep. It beats while you work. It beats while you spend time with the people you love. Take care of it. Pay attention to what your body is telling you, because protecting your mornings may be one of the most important investments you ever make in your future health. I'm Dr. Carter. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in our next conversation.